Jenna opened her lunchbox with joy, hoping to find some sandwiches, but something stopped her. She carefully inspected the lunchbox. There was something moving. Her father, her dead father, and a man behind him, someone she had never seen. Jenna anxiously grabbed the lunchbox by the handle. She lifted her hand up slowly. She froze. No sandwiches, no food, just one small letter. Jenna grabbed the letter. It looked burned, but the one thing that worried her was the picture. It was moving. It was the same man she had seen behind her dead father. His eyes were glowing as if he was staring at her. Jenna flipped the page. There was a paragraph, full of writing. No pictures, all motionless. Once Jenna had a firm grip, she made sure no one was able to take the piece of parchment in her hand. She began reading from the starter line of the burned page. It read, La Sistema Birch Boarding School. Any students under the age of 13 are allowed to participate in this school. Jenna thought the page had ended there, but it kept going. Address, 34 Manbalia Street, Acacia Ridge, Brisbane, Queensland. Finally, it ended there. Jenna was still confused why she had found that note in her lunchbox. When Jenna finally got home, she darted to her mother in an instant and told her what she had seen. Once Jenna's mother has read through the page, Jenna questioned her mother whether she could join the school or not. Jenna's mother seemed to like the idea of joining the school, so she agreed to the plan. The next day, Jenna packed her bag, ate breakfast, and brushed her teeth before she said goodbye to her house. Jenna looked over. She saw the shadows of a wolf-like man walking on 2 feet. She looked over to be shocked by the presence of a full moon. Jenna! Jenna! Jenna!
Voice, Vo. Jenna, yeah.
Staff member. You need to pack your suitcase. Remember where you moving cabins today. Jenna. What, why, when, where? Staff member. I don't know, Professor Harrow said this cabin is too dangerous. Jenna. Too dangerous?
She said no more, she just packed her stuff and left silently. Jenna walked to her new cabin and stared at the wall. She saw marks on the wall, as if someone had scratched it. Someone with claws. At first she didn't think much of it. She predicted a cat just scratched the wall. But later she realized no animals were allowed in the school, which slightly raised her suspicion of Professor Harrow. After a while of staring at the wall, it was finally time for history class. The first thing she saw was Professor Harrow writing his name on the board. After a while he turned his head and stared right at Jenna. Jenna stared right back at him. She was shocked. It was the same man she saw on her lunchbox. Finally, they both look away. But every now and then, Jenna could sense she was being watched.
By the end of the lesson, Professor Harrow went up to Jenna and said, Professor Harrow, you look much like your father, Jenna. Jenna. My father!
How would you know my father?
We were friends.
Jenna, extremely tired, went for a nap. She woke up from the sudden noise of a girl screaming. She got out of bed, with blurred vision, willing to help the girl. She ran to the toilets after realizing she had left the school grounds. She looked up to be shocked by the presence of a full moon. Next to her, she saw a wolf-like man standing on 2 feet charging at her, but before she had time to react, the moon went down. The wolf became a human again, but not just any human. Professor Harrow. This left Jenna speechless.
Jenna, it's you who killed my father. Professor Harrow, how did you know? It's obvious you're a werewolf.
Listen closely. When I killed your father, I had no choice. I was a werewolf. My memory disappeared.
Finally, Jenna, full of anger. Jenna walked off and went back to sleep. She finally woke up and went outside. The doors were locked. She looked around. Everywhere was empty. She was meant to be having food right now, but the cafeteria was empty. Next to her is a sign. School locked down. A little while later, she heard a noise. Jenna stared over her shoulder. It wasn't Mr. Harrow, although the wolf-like man standing on 2 feet looked fairly similar to Mr. Harrow. She had no time to react before she heard thuds of footsteps getting louder and louder and louder. Seconds later, an army of werewolves were standing in the shadow of the second-story roof. Jenna waited. She knew she had no time to run.
Maybe they'll put me in a bowl of soup and drink me like nothing. For a while, Jenna thought about what the werewolves could do to her. She whispered, but one thing that caught Jenna's eye was the werewolf.
It didn't move, nor did the others. Finally, after Jenna's patience, a werewolf who Jenna had already known stepped past the shadow. That moment, a bolt of lightning shot through the sky, went through the window and just narrowly missed his fury gray nose. Then another, which missed him by what seemed like an inch to his ear. Then another. This time it struck him in the shin, instantly transforming him into his original shape of a human.
Professor Harrow? Jenna questioned. All the other werewolves fainted from shock.
Professor Harrow didn't reply. Instead, he tried sprinting out, which was blocked by the werewolves.
Was that you who made the scratches on the wall? No wonder you told us to move. So you can kill me just like you did to my father.
Jenna, your old cabin was where I transformed every full moon. Your father came to this school and was placed in your old cabin, and that's where I transformed. That's how I killed him, and since then, the cabin was abandoned.
Jenna froze. Her question was finally answered, the question that was pondering in her head for the last week she had been in the school. Why would a teacher say such a thing? Now Jenna really decided to trust Professor Harrow. She knew he had killed her father, but at the same time she knew Professor Harrow had no choice as his memory disappeared every transformation. Jenna thought for a moment, hoping to find a way of escape. Finally, an idea came to her mind. She called Professor Harrow and stepped over what looked like dead werewolves.
Wait, why did all the werewolves faint? She said. She questioned Professor Harrow.
There were fake werewolves, they had masks.
Jenna was speechless. How? She questioned in shock. It was her father, her dead father.
Jenna looked over to Professor Harrow. He was gone. Jenna searched the school curiously. Finally, she gave up. She looked outside the window. It has already turned to nighttime, with a full moon. Finally, Jenna now knew why Professor Harrow had run away from her. Jenna knew she must find a safe hiding place in an instant. After a while of looking, she found the perfect place to hide. The girls' bathroom. She dashed into the bathroom and hid under the sink. The noise got louder and louder. The door opened. Jenna let out a scream, hoping for someone to come. Professor Harrow came closer and closer, until Jenna went for a dive in one of the toilets. She closed the door and locked it in an instant. She waited, and waited, and waited. Nothing. She looked under the door. Professor Harrow was standing there, waiting for Jenna to depart the bathroom. After a while, Jenna looked under the bathroom again. Professor Harrow had left. Finally, Jenna opened the door. Professor Harrow wasn't charging at her like she expected. Instead, the bathroom was empty. She opened the door of the bathroom and went outside the school. The full moon was gone. Finally, she checked into the cafeteria. There he was, Professor Harrow, standing in the middle of the room. Next to him, her father, dressed up as a werewolf, was lying on the ground motionless.
So it really was you who killed my father. I didn't mean to.
Instead of Jenna running up to Professor Harrow and harming him in any way she could, she just stood there. She knew once Professor Harrow had transformed, he would forget all his memories.
But how come you said you killed my father? I don't know. All I can remember is that I transformed and went up to him and killed him. Wait, where did you kill him?
Didn't I already tell you this in your old cabin?
Isn't that where you just killed him? She yelled.
Yes.
What if we are in the past right now?
Jenna's mind was filled with random thoughts about what might have really happened. Finally, her question was answered when she found a painting on the wall of Professor Harrow 7 years later. She called Professor Harrow. No answer, so she went to the cafeteria. It was empty. Finally, she spent 30 minutes searching the school, but the only thing she found was her dead father lying outside of the school. Lastly, she checked the bathroom. She checked everywhere, but when she checked the sink, she saw her reflection in the mirror. She didn't look like her original body, but instead a taller blonde hair girl with glasses.
This is my future.